A body has been found. Now, they have yet to confirm the identity, but this is everything we know so far about 18-year-old Nolan Xavier who went missing on July 4th. So the Jackson County Sheriff's Department confirmed the discovery, right, of a body. But the identity, again, has not yet been confirmed, right? But the body was located on the same island that Nolan went missing. Now, what happened before this? So Nolan went boating to Horn Island with a group of friends. Apparently, it's a popular berry island off the Mississippi Gulf Coast. The group arrived by boat. It was a holiday weekend, obviously July 4th, right? So the area was busy with boaters. Around 3 p.m., he was last seen on the west tip, north end of Horn Island. So he reportedly spent time hanging out and talking with a girl there. Apparently, they parted ways. His friends returned to shore without him. They apparently thought he caught another ride back with someone else, right? So the girl said that she thought he left with his friends. So it looks like he left his cell phone on the island. It wasn't with him, right? He was last seen wearing blue trunks, no shirt and sunglasses, right? So again, they found a body. There's still search efforts going on, I'm sure. I mean, usually in these cases, it's kind of bad news. Now, the big question is, did race play a part of this? Obviously, he's hanging out with a bunch of white guys. A lot of people are making this about race, but let me tell you something. I don't know. Something fishy is going on, but obviously thoughts and prayers go out to the family because this is tragic.
So we got to talk about this Nolan Wells situation because I've been asked about it. I wasn't going to really talk about it. I'm kind of annoyed with all of this. Everything's got to be about race, and y'all know, right? We've gotten quite a bit of that. Okay. If you guys aren't familiar, well, that's why I played, that video clip. It kind of gave you a little bit of, the background on the whole situation. A black kid went out to a lake with some white kids and he didn't return. And they found his body after he had drowned. Okay. I also learned that allegedly the reason why his buddies were ready to leave was because the boat was sinking. It was taking on water. I'm not too familiar with boats and, that whole thing. But for whatever reason, the boat was taking on water. They all wanted to leave. They asked him, like, hey, let's go. Let's get out of here. The boat's taking on water. He wanted to stay behind. This is all allegedly with some chick, I guess, he liked or was talking to at the time. So he stayed behind, which that's totally normal. Any fella out there knows we've all stayed behind to talk to some chick, when the homies left. Like, nah, I want to stay back and, holler at so-and-so, whatever. That's normal. That's nothing crazy. But yeah, I got a couple of clips I want to play. Here is another clip talking about the entire situation. So here it is.
So we know that Nolan went to the island with these 3 white boys, but how come no one told us about his black best friend who actually tagged along but arrived on a different boat because he couldn't fit on that boat? Now, his name is Javon. He actually spoke to the media about it, but somehow a lot of people don't know that. I mean, recently he went on TMZ and he said that he disagrees with Ben Crump. He says labeling this case as a race thing is not the way to go, telling us, obviously, that people are doing it because something doesn't add up. And I agree, something doesn't add up. But if we're going to find the full truth, we got to tell people the full story. Now, sidebar, why do we keep plugging our boys Tyler Perry, Colin Kaepernick? I haven't heard about these guys in a few years. Look, I know we want to get them some clout, but maybe doing that at a parent's most vulnerable time is probably not the move. Maybe they could donate and keep quiet about it instead of flexing on everybody.
And then on top of that, you talk about this video that's out there that shows this apparent argument going on where Nolan says, where's my freaking phone? What are you freaking doing?
Really quickly on that video that you posted, are you sure that that is Nolan's voice that we can hear on the video?
And there are kids. Kids are talking and kids are always talking that there was an argument. So we have independent investigators doing it and we get an independent autopsy.
Man, I'm glad he asked you that question because that's exactly what I was thinking. Now, why would we say that on national television when people aren't going to fact check what you're saying? They're just going to believe it when his boy, Javon, went on TMZ and told him the exact opposite. Because the truth doesn't matter to these guys. In fact, the owner of the video told TMZ, and I'll play the video for you guys here in a second, that they were on Horn Island, the last place Nolan was seen alive on July 4th. And they took the video to send to their spouse. After hearing about Nolan's disappearance, they put the video online to see if someone might be able to ID Nolan. And then folks started falsely claiming that Nolan was in the video fighting with others. The owner of the video also tells us they heard a verbal altercation that occurred on the island, but their video doesn't show a fight. Now, his friend Javon says that, hey man, the altercation did occur, but it did not involve Nolan. Now, the owner also says she sent it to the sheriff's department, she sent it to her mother, but she didn't get any sort of reply back. Now, speaking of sending things to law enforcement, why haven't we sent the phone to the sheriff's department so they can extract the supposed deleted Snapchats and texts? We'll get to that here in a second, but watch this video that he said on national television that it's Nolan screaming, "Give me my phone," or whatever he said. You watch it.
From Warren, I immediately called my friend Tashima and I said, "Hey, have you guys seen Nolan?" Because her two sons, Jalen and Javon, like, they grew up together. They played City League sports together. When they got into school, they played sports together. And so she was like, "Hey, like, okay, the boys were pulling up the location from Snapchat." So the Snapchat location was completely different than the Life 360 location. So when I pulled up Life 360, it was different. It was showing everywhere the phone had been. Like, I was like, "Well, it's showing that he's back on land." Like, I'm not. He's like, "But no, he didn't come back with us."
Now, really think about what she just said, that she was tracking his location with the Life 360 app, which always tracks your location. I'm sure a lot of you guys use it. Now, Snapchat, on the other hand, unless you enable it, does not track your location at all times. In fact, it'll only track your location once you open the app. Remember that her sons couldn't find his exact location because they were using Snapchat, but she thought he was home the whole time, right? Or back on the mainland because she was using Life 360.
When we finally got his phone, me and my sister went through the phone. We went into Snapchat. He had 2 accounts, absolutely nothing. It wasn't even 24 hours, which is how long videos and pictures stay in Snapchat. And I was just like, that can't be. Like, I've seen Nolan whenever he snaps, like when he goes and he's having fun, like he does videos, like there was absolutely nothing, no saved videos. And even my sister's like, yeah, that's suspicious, you know.
Now, she's claiming that someone probably deleted his Snapchats. Now, how would they do that without opening the Snapchat app and then updating the location because they activated the app again? Remember, they have to open it up, which means that the location would update it. She said that it didn't update it because it was different from the Life 360 app. You see how that doesn't make sense? Okay. Anyways, let me know what you think in the comments down below.
Yeah, so there's a lot of discrepancies going on with this entire story. You know, I get it, right? I understand from a parent's perspective. You know, you're trying to find answers. Why did your son not return home? You know, that's not something that any parent would want to hear, but there's a lot of discrepancies. As he said, the location should have updated on the Snapchat app if it was opened and things were deleted. So why didn't it update if somebody opened it and deleted the Snapchats? And I'm sure the, you know, FBI or whatever could get in contact with Snapchat and they could pull up, you know, the deleted snaps. Just because you delete it doesn't mean Snapchat, right, hasn't stored it somewhere still. So I don't think that would actually work, right? I would assume that could still be pulled up. I don't know with 100% certainty, but also one of the things for me is if you guys looked at that water seemed pretty murky. You know, and I don't know this, like, once again, I don't know this with 100% certainty or anything like that, but that water looks pretty darn dark to me. Where if someone started drowning or someone drowned, you wouldn't see them. It doesn't look very deep, especially up there. I'm sure it's probably a little bit deeper back here, which is why this is where all the boats are. So it's probably a bit deeper back here. But if someone drowned out here, it doesn't look like you'd see them. And y'all can let me know in the comments if you agree, but I ain't seeing anything. And contrary to popular belief, if someone has drowned, they don't float, at least not immediately. It takes some days before their body actually floats. They sink. So if someone drowns, you're not going to see them, you know, a minute after they passed out floating to the top. Like, no, they're going to be sitting on the bottom somewhere still. Okay. So I could see how that could easily happen, right? Somebody like me, I can't swim. So when it comes to like going to like little islands and stuff like that on lakes, I'm not going. I don't think I've ever no, okay, I take that back. I have been to an island on a lake. I didn't get out of the boat to step onto the island because with my luck, and y'all can let me know, people that are more experienced with being in and around water, with my luck, I feel like I'd step in like a low spot or step off of the island by accident and whoosh, straight down. You know what I mean? Or step into like a hole somewhere that you can't really see because you can't see the bottom, you know? Is that really a thing? Y'all let me know in the comments. Y'all let me know in the comments, please. But I stayed my black behind on the boat, okay? I wasn't getting off. Still had a good time, but I'm going to stay on the boat. You know, just, it's not my cup of tea. But I could easily see how, he was maybe a little too drunk. Allegedly, there was some drinks being thrown around, which we've all been there, nothing new. But I could easily see how, maybe got a little too drunk, slipped, fell, went under, didn't really come back up, might have hit his head, stepped off, walked a little too far by accident, whoop, straight under, never came back up. Nobody saw him. The water's pretty murky. When you drown, you don't come up. I mean, days later you'll come up, after the body starts decomposing and whatnot, but not immediately. So, I don't know. I could easily see how something like that could happen. But maybe I'm crazy. Y'all let me know in the comments. Please. But what I am sick of is the race hustlers always sprinting, out of the woodworks whenever anything with black people and white people happens, or a black person and a cop happens.
I hate that y'all pretend like y'all never been young before. Like, I told you what Al Sharpton and Ben Crump's goal was. They're going to go around 50 states and nitpick cases that they can put a spin on and use to create more racial tension. They're race baiters. This is what they do. They're race hustlers. Ben's got multiple race bait and race hustling cases open as we speak. So instead of letting the police do their investigation, they're just going to leave it up to people's imagination and using racism so that they can steer what happened. They're implying. It's not that they're saying that his friends, they're implying that his friends did something to him, and they're implying that because they're white, they're getting away with it. That's what they're implying. These implications only serves to further divide the American people so that they can keep us separated and keep their constituents. This is about the Democrats. I swear, look at the news media that's putting it out. They're putting all of the same cases out. They won't put anything out that goes against their agenda.
Facts. Like, I haven't heard a single peep about the little black girl. I can't think of her name right now, but I may talk about that case on the second channel. So definitely go and subscribe to my second channel. It's called Extra Rich. The link is down below in the description box. But yeah, I haven't seen a single word from the little black girl who was allegedly killed by her parents and dissolved in acid. Yeah, I believe she was 2 years old. 2 years old. Not a single peep from these folks. Not a single word from the Ben Crumps and the Al Sharptons of the world. Not a single peep. I didn't hear a single peep from these folks during Juneteenth or right after Juneteenth about the killings in Chicago of black people dying. Not a single peep. Because there's not money to be made off of those cases. Right? You can make a couple of dollars when you can try to pin white people against black people, though. You can make some money off of that. It's ridiculous, man. It's absolutely ridiculous. Everything isn't about race. As a matter of fact, his friend that you saw in the second clip there actually on TMZ said that he doesn't think this had anything to do with race whatsoever. In the altercation, he doesn't believe that was Nolan either. Okay, so this is all silly, man. Accidents happen. This could have been anything. He could have slipped, could have fallen, was too drunk, might have hit his head when he fell, I don't know. Anything could have happened. Could have walked too far and went under, right? Anything could have happened. Just because, unfortunately he passed away doesn't mean that it had anything to do with, white people killed him. Like, no. Is it tragic? Absolutely. And condolences to his family, no parent should ever have to bury their child. It's just a fact, right? But just because he passed away, it doesn't mean a white person killed him because white people were in the vicinity. It's silly. And I'm seeing some folks say, see, I told you, stop going around no white people. And it's like, well, if that's the case, if that's what we're supposed to be doing. So if you're saying, hey, stop hanging out around these white people because whenever you do, you die. Well, then we shouldn't hang around black people either. Because everybody that I know that's died due to gun violence, it wasn't a white person that was on the other side of that gun firing it. It was a black person. So by that logic, we shouldn't hang around anybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just silly. Like, stop it. But anyway, y'all get into the comments. Let me know your thoughts and your opinions. What do you think happened with this entire situation? Do you think I'm right? Do you think I'm wrong? On the right track? Why or why not? Let me know. Stay safe out there. Peace and love. I'm out.